You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show.
Dr. Werner Vogels, thank you for being here. I don't think I've ever called you Dr. Werner Vogels.
No, it was actually funny. I never really gave that much about my PhD. But when marketing and PR found out that there was a doctor in front of my name, it started to appear everywhere.
Well, it's not nothing to be ashamed of, right?
Well, no, I'm not ashamed of it, but it was just something you did.
It's true. It's true. Now, it's funny because we do this every year, kind of. I was just telling you ahead of time, it feels like the holidays are coming up when we get to talk about your predictions for the next year. But usually we do this at Reinvent, AWS's big conference, obviously. What made you decide to switch it up this year, do it a little bit earlier?
This is sort of the last time. It's time for other voices to come on. And there's so many brilliant engineers with so many experiences that I think, I'm not leaving Amazon or anything like that.
I was just going to ask you, like, what's happening here?
I'm not retiring or anything. I have tons of great ideas that I would like to pursue. But it is time for Amazon customers to hear some younger voices that have tons of experience of building AWS.
Are you saying it's your last keynote at AWS?
Who knows?
I hear you. Well,
I've gone through this phase where I thought, I'm now 21 years at Amazon. You would have asked me 20 years ago, we stayed with this company for 20 years, I believe. I had no. I would work for one company for 20 years. But it's been such a pleasure. And there's so much things in Amazon. You almost have to go back to the beginning of Amazon. 1994, the word e-commerce doesn't exist. There is no e-commerce technology. Anything within Amazon always needed to be invented. There's nothing commercially to buy. And if we did buy something commercially, it absolutely didn't work at our scale. So now we have a very long history of good engineering, and building things that nobody else has built before. And as an engineer, how can you not love that opportunity? Although absolutely. I almost didn't go. Because I was at that moment still an academic. And although academia in the US promotes you to have connections with companies and things like that, but at some moment Amazon comes and asks me, can you come give a talk here about your work? And I go, Amazon? It's a workshop.
The bookstore.
It's a web server in a database. How hard can that be? Until I actually did go, and one glimpse in the Amazon Technology Kitchen it blew me away. These guys were operating at a scale that nobody else in the world was. And just helping them just become more reliable, better control over their systems, maybe moving single points of so many things that were fun that actually still keep me going today.
For sure. Now, if we're reminiscing, I remember, I think it was the first Reinvent, maybe the second, where you gave the keynote interviewing Jeff Bezos. Was that the first one, second one? Yeah. So I think I've been to all of them. So I think that was the first one. Yeah.
2012.
Yes.
Andy gave the first keynote. I gave the second one, and then we had a fireside chat with Jeff.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah, compare kind of the Reinvents over the years. What has changed there for you? Because you've always given kind of the closing keynote for the last years, obviously.
Well, when we started in 2012, I'm just making a guess. We maybe had 15 services. And maybe we had 8 different types of compute units. Now we have 1,600. We have 250 different services. Every customer has different requirements that you need to meet. And of course, at the same time, technology is changing relatively fast as well. And so over time, I mean, we've invented quite a few things like Lambda, the way we built Aurora, the way we built DSQL, all of these things nobody had done before. Yeah, and at the same time, over the years, we've learned a few, what shall I say, technologies ourselves, approaching technology ourselves, that we now try to teach other people. And one of them is cell-based architectures. For example, if you want to make sure, everything fails all the time, but if something fails, you want to make sure that the minimum number of customers are actually impacted. And there are certain technologies for that we have developed over time. So, we try to teach that to our customers as well, so that they can have the same level of reliability that we have.
Yeah, I think that's why I've always enjoyed the final keynote, because it's less about the products, but kind of those patterns, right? So it's always been.
Well, I think the last 3-4 years, I don't think I'd made any launches anymore. Yeah, I'm really focusing on what's the bigger picture. How should we do this? 2 years ago, with the frugal architect, that was absolutely in response to things that I saw with my customers. Yeah, they were, are we really getting bang for a buck? And is this really the way that we should be building these kind of things? And so giving your customers some guidance about how to best work together with the business, work together with technologists, and all the things that we've learned for ourselves about how to control cost, or how Amazon retail knows how to control cost. I mean, retail margins are razor thin. So it's important that that one was a real big one. And I'm very happy that we've been able to take all the learnings that we had as Amazon and actually put it in one presentation and allow people to walk away. When I see people leaving the room, I want them to see thinking. And I'm like, oh, can I use that? Can we use that? Oh, are we doing that wrong? Or, oh, maybe we should go somewhere in that direction. And the goal has always been to make sure, to educate, to make sure that our customers walk away a bit richer than that they were before. And this year will be fun.
Do you want to give us a high-level idea what we'll talk about? All right. Well, the other thing you always announce is who plays the after party, obviously. But that's
we'll not going to tell you.
It's a shame. That's always.
But as always, there will be a band and there will be DJ, different ends of the spectrum. That will be fun.
Awesome. Well, let's actually talk about your predictions, though. What we already know it's coming, Reinvent, in just a couple of days from now, really, when this goes out. But your predictions for the next year, and they've changed. I think this year is a little bit different from other years because they're very technical. This year, I felt like last year they were a little bit more like societal. I mean, this is also societal impact, but they were maybe a little bit more high level. These go a little bit further down the stack. But I was thinking to get, or actually, go ahead. You've got.
I don't know. I still think that there are a few softer. I also believe that we as technologists have the responsibility to solve some of the hardest problems that there are. Yeah. And as such, you can't write about sort of hard problems and not write about technology at the same time. Yeah, the first prediction, and especially put it up front, is the one about loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you have lots of friends and lots of colleagues and whatever, you probably don't even know what loneliness is. But for a very large group of people, and whether they're elderly or younger or whatever, it's a big problem for them. It actually triggers diseases. It makes people unhappy, depression, all these kind of things. Now, if we can build technology to help some of these people, already sort of getting them out of the depression, that would be great. I remember actually almost at the beginning of Alexa, I heard a story of a man that was at the beginning of dementia. And he told me, I actually spoke to him, he told me that he could see at his caregivers, they were getting irritated because they asked the same thing over and over and over again. And then he go on Alexa. And he put a sticker on it because he didn't want to forget how she was called. But he said, I can ask her anything I want. And she never gets angry.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so that was not necessarily why we built Alexa. But it's a side effect of technology that helps people.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the one where we can help people overcome depression, are able to communicate better with their caregivers. If we can build devices for that, absolutely. And it's amazing that actually a lot of people treat their devices as pets.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving the names. The funny story is, of course, a Roomba of iRobot. About 80% of the Roombas have a name. They've been given a name. And there was one person that actually sent the Roomba back because it was broken. And it was so bad that actually the company said, we'll send you a new one. And he said, no. Meryl Sweep needs to come back.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's definitely.
There's work by Kate Darling at MIT that if you're interested in this, how people are treating devices as pets or as living devices. She has a lot of very, very interesting research where the attachment of people to these devices. So she has this whole test that she once did. She had two groups. Both got a small dinosaur, and the dinosaur was giving names, and people were doing fun things with him, and then they were giving a hammer. Kill the dinosaur. Nobody. However, they were more than happy to kill the dinosaur of the neighbors. Yeah, and so these kind of attachments that are growing between these devices and people is important. Kids with autism have a hard time touching other people. They have no problem touching a device, or talking to them or engaging with them. And it's often difficult for those children, but children in general, to talk to a doctor. Because a doctor is this magnificent, important person. However, talking to this little funky, fuzzy kind of device next to them, no problem.
Yeah. I would just to push back a little bit, though, especially when it comes to loneliness and the elderly. I think, right? It's great to have those robots, but to some degree, it's kind of a crux for real human interaction, right? I mean, the problem goes deeper. It's maybe a part of a solution, but the problem goes much deeper, doesn't it?
Yeah. A number of years ago, I was in Japan, And actually, I talked to the Japanese about exactly this problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, because in Japan, there was a long history of taking care of your parents or your
Right.
grandparents. They lived with you.
Hmm.
But the younger generation of Japanese, they want to make career. They don't really want to take care of their parents. And so it's then at the same time fun to see how many Japanese startups are trying to build technology to make this possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, Z-Works, for example, is one of them. And some of these devices are simple. This is just a pressure mat in your bed. You leave at the middle of the night to go to the toilet. If you're not back in 10 minutes, alarms go off.
Hmm.
Yeah, and things like that. Or Amazon has built one glass throw. That's actually quite fun.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a pretty device. But he will seek you out during the day and ask you whether you've taken your medicine.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so there's small little things that that can, would I have asked you, did you take your medicine? Well, maybe not so much. Yeah,
Right.
but the
Right.
little robot can do these kind of things.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 We only talk once a year, so it's
Yes.
would not be good for my medicine. Absolutely. Do you expect we'll see more of these, robots, and especially with AI and physical AI and world models and all of those things coming up? Do you think there'll be a revolution in that area, and we'll see more of these
Revolution
robots or other
means
tools?
explosions. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not really sure. I think we will see more and more because I think the problem is slowly taking on epidemic proportions. Yeah,
Hmm.
and we're all getting older, and we're not dying. Well, eventually.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. And as such, there's more people that are becoming just by themselves and who used to live maybe with a family. And for them, the last years of their life are a disaster.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're alone. They don't eat anymore because nobody actually tells them to eat or things like that. And as such, I do think it's an epidemic that we just need to address.
Mhm.
And we're obviously not interested as humans at this moment to do it as a human caregiver.
Hmm.
But as we as technologists can find at least some solutions, we've done a good job.
I agree. Let's talk about those technologists for a moment as well, because that's another one of your predictions, obviously, the Renaissance developer, which where did that, so the idea, if I understand it correctly, basically is if you're a developer today, AI will handle a lot of the grunt work, right? But it's really up to you to be creative and be the architect, right? That's what it comes down to. So.
I think we need to evolve just as much as that our tools evolve. Yeah, I learned 68,000 COBOL and Pascal in school. Nobody programs that anymore. Yeah, and after that we got C, we got C++, and we got Java, and we've got Python, and there will be 10 more. Now everybody is guessing over Rust. Rightfully so, I think. But, there's something else that will figure out something else, another problem to solve. And so this has always been the case. We always learned new technologies as developers. Yeah. And you know what? Often we were ahead of our boss asking us, I've heard about this COBOL thing. Well, I already read the book. I can build some for you. Yeah. COBOL programmers these days get paid well.
Indeed. Though AI is also making their life easier.
Yeah,
with,
there's also
some of those tools.
It's a bit
But
there. Jensen, Actually, I saw an interview with him where someone asked him, will AI eventually overtake the capability of your brain? And Jensen said, you know what? Maybe it's 20% of your work that AI can do for you. Or maybe 50%. But that's it. Yeah. There is things in our creativity, there's things in our curiosity, yeah, that these machines don't have. And that's why I'm bringing it back to the Renaissance, because the Renaissance just came out of 1,000 years of dark ages. And before those 1,000 years, the Egyptians and the Romans and the Arabs had done enormous work on maths and things like that. And suddenly all of this came back again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as such, everybody needed to learn new tasks and it was no longer sufficient to be just a carpenter. And that's how I see the development of engineers happening as well. You know, there was a time when it was sufficient to be a back-end developer. Mm-hmm. You knew exactly what you needed to do. But now you need to have a broader view, not other languages. You need to know how the business is being run. Yeah. You need to know. And so you call this a T model, yeah, where you go deep, but you also need to have sort of this polymath kind of thing. Yeah. Exactly what Da Vinci did. Da Vinci was not just a painter or a sculptor. You know, he was a mathematician as well. And so not maybe as deep as some of the others, but he has a good understanding of all of this. And I think this is where we're going to. Yeah, and actually, I read a book once, and it was about journalists. The hedgehogs and the fox. The hedgehog is the one that knows one thing really, really well. And then there is the fox that understands the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And the fox can make connections between things, but the hedgehog can't, because it can only do one thing. So I think developers will be going through a similar evolution, where they still are a back-end developer, but they also understand the bigger world around them much better.
What is that?
And you know, I put system thinking in there because I think, going back to Donatella Meadows, when she first started off with system thinking about how all of these things in real life are connected to each other. Yeah, the main, probably most famous example is the moment when they removed the wolves from Yellowstone Park. There were too many wolves, and they killed all the elk. And then they removed all the wolves, and the complete park decimated. Because you took out one thing that was essential in the overall story. And so really understanding what are all the aspects of the system that we're building, how do they work together? Yeah, if this one browns out and you have 1,000 microservices, what's the impact on this one? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think those kind of things are where our brains are perfect for.
How does that change how we're training developers, though? Because there's always also been the argument, you know, junior developers need to cut their teeth on kind of those basic problems first before they can work on these higher level architecture things. Like, where do you stand there?
I think if I look back, even before we had these bigger AI systems, junior engineers still needed a year to learn to become an engineer. Yeah, because at school, what did you do? Did you ever work with someone else on building something real? Eh? Oh, you hated the people that you worked with, had to work with, because nobody did their work. Yeah, but production work is collaboration, is working together, is communication. And all of these kind of things are not being taught in school. So engineers, even if they a perfect Python developer, still need to learn how to become a full-fledged team member and developer. And so that was always the case. Yeah. Do I think we have a few advantages with newer AI systems? Yeah. Because in the past, a senior engineer needed to sit next to the junior engineer to explain him why you were doing this. Now, it is a lot easier. Right? Some of the AI can actually tell you why this is happening. But I do think there's something that will never change. And one of those is code reviews. Code reviews, we hate them. They were boring sometimes. Yeah. And in this case, maybe AI has written the code, or maybe it's you written the code, and all the engineers are sitting in the room and looking at your code. Terrible. And maybe someone says, "Oh, that's elegant. I wish I had thought of that." Or it's horrible and there's mistakes and things like that. Now, the senior engineers enjoy that because they sort of get to use all of their brains. The junior engineers in the room learn. And if you no longer do code reviews, they would never learn from the mistake of others. Yeah, and as such, I don't know, there's still so much that we as humans are the only ones who can do that.
What about the existing developer cohort? What's it going to be like for them to make this transition, you think?
You know what? I think as a senior developer, can I count myself to that? Yeah.
At this point.
At this point.
We'll let you get away with it.
When I went to school, I got a class called interview technique. And I thought, what? Why do we need to talk to journalists? No,
well, you do.
No. How do you talk to customers? Because a customer will come to you with a problem, but packaged in a solution that he thinks is the right solution. And so your interview technique, your talking, your communication with your customer allows you to dive deeper into it and really understanding what the problem is that he's trying to solve. Yeah. And that kind of thing can only humans do. You know, and no matter how old as a developer you are, I don't know, I hear Byron Cook, one of our the guys that run automatic reasoning here at Amazon. He was asked at some point from a customer, "Oh, what should I be doing with Gen AI?" They said, "Well, I'm very sorry to answer your question with another question, but why are you asking me this?" Yeah. And it is because the other guys, they're also all doing it, aren't they? No, they're not. There is an enormous amount of anxiety, an enormous amount of fear of missing out at the moment that a senior engineer will immediately recognize. And calm down, tell the customer, why don't we push the pause button for a moment? Why don't you get some of your engineers trained? And then we can see how we can best solve this and where this the best application area is. I think these are things that are continuously in your head if you're seeing an older developer.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, I wasn't going to talk about this here, but there's definitely a lot of pressure on companies or companies feel that pressure to shoehorn generative AI, large language models into every problem right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. But I also think you should always ask yourself, what is the real problem? What are the things that we're trying to solve? Yeah, and remember that AI is now 75 years old. So the term AI got coined in 1956 by Minsky and McCarthy. And funny enough, McCarthy later had a quote that says, as soon as it works, we don't call it AI anymore. Yeah. And it's mostly because if you've been an Amazon customer, you've been using AI for the past 50 years. We just didn't call it AI as image recognition or forecasting or whatever. Right. But in essence, it is not that different. Yeah, and we now have completely forgotten about those 50 years, and that was also AI. And now we have a newer form of AI. Now, again, we need to figure out what are the right solutions that we can solve with this. And we should make sure that the media doesn't determine our architecture. And what I mean by that is that every day, every 2 days, there's a new model. Do you already know the difference between an LLM and a reasoning LLM? You may. But I'm pretty sure that the customer reading this go like, oh, and now we need to use reasoning LLMs because those, I think one of the mistakes we made with launching, we didn't launch it. One of the mistakes that was made is that normally with new technology, you would educate your customers first. Yeah, we all know the famous Crossing the Chasm book and things like that. You build technology, you have your early adopters, you learn from that how to teach them how to use the technology. Then you cross the chasm and you get the early majority. But you already know how to talk to them. You already know how to explain. But given that this was a competition on who could win search, it got dumped in the lap of consumers without any education. And especially what it couldn't do.
Right, yeah.
And as such, I think, and as such, we've seen that there are some countries or some organizations that are really gung-ho on them. But also because we didn't teach people, we see lots of regulatory requirements that are just saying no AI. Not even teaching themselves about what it is, but just the automatic reaction of, I don't know what this is, we won't do this.
Yeah.
And I think, will we have a ton of problems that we can solve with this? Oh, absolutely. The first real application area of Gen AI was programming. Why? Because we love to solve our own problems.
True.
If upgrading from Java 12 to Java 17 is boring work, and you have 4,500 applications, you can automate it. Yeah. And as such, is there a lot of potential automation? Is there a lot of potential bringing different data sources together? Yeah, absolutely. If I see some of our engineers, some of our support engineers, you get a question from a customer, and then you need to look at that database, and you need to figure out what was the documentation over there. You know what? If Gen AI can read the question before you and make sure that all that data is readily available for you at the moment that you need to do the ticket, boom, you win time. And remember that time is the only thing we have.
Goes back to the first prediction to some degree there. Now, actually, let me take that from there to your next prediction, because time is the only thing we have, I think, to prepare for the advent of quantum computing and breaking cryptography with that as well, right? That's your third prediction.
Well,
Here.
it's one of the things, I had a prediction, I think 2 or 3 years ago about where we were. And I think my prediction was 10 years out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no longer 10 years out, 4 to 5 years.
That's what you think at this point? Because the joke is always, it's always been 5 years out.
Yeah, I said 10, so I wasn't really joking. No, I think we can get them at a reliability level within 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Because we've seen
the problem is not the quantum machinery. That's not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that there is data harvesting happening already. Yeah?
Mm.
There's data harvesting now about your medical, your financial information that nobody can read because it's encrypted. But 5 years from now, it will. Yeah. Is that terrible? Yes, it is. Yeah, and as such, I think as big companies, we should really push our customers to make sure that they use the right technologies. We've built something originally was called SNN, signal to noise. libSSL, I think, has, what is it, 500,000 lines of code. And so we thought that's because there's all these different variations in it. And we thought it's not necessary. There's only 1 or 2 that you use. So we renamed it actually SNN TLC, I believe. And then we have had an ability to already put post-quantum encryption in there. So that's one thing.
For those who don't know what post-quantum encryption entails, just explain that for a moment, maybe.
That doesn't really matter. The bigger problem is your garage door. Your garage door runs a little machine that runs Linux that you haven't updated in probably the past 2 years. Or all sorts of other devices that take hotel cards. They're all encrypted. Yeah. So we have 5 years. Yeah, to really make sure. And this is not a joke like a year 2000. The world will go up in flames. Well, nothing happened. But given that this is something there are enough state actors interested in, there are enough criminal actors interested in, we will need to take action now if we don't want to be in big problems in 5 years.
What about that data, though, that has already been harvested? Should we just assume that's lost at this point, you would think?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that, though?
It's a really big problem. It is as big as, it may even be bigger as sort of the extortion techniques that you see now with your data is being held hostage and things like that. This is going to be a much bigger problem. And as big companies, we should make sure that our customers understand this. And almost every conversation with a customer these days, I end with, have we thought about encryption? Yeah.
Have they?
Yeah, start thinking. Yeah, and start thinking, how are you going to address this? Yeah, is it just with a firewall? Are you going to re-encrypt all your data? There's tons of solutions. But I do think my customers are hearing me, and that's a good thing.
and I mean, as AWS, you are the custodian for a lot of data already. How are you preparing for that?
Well, of course, CloudFront, all our front-end pieces, CloudFront S3, all have post-quantum encryption in there, and we motivate our customers on their end to also use it. So you say, at least at the wire, it's encrypted. And then internally, the data that you stored you will need to re-encrypt it. And there's just no other good. We may prove to ourselves like, we protect you, but you still need to make sure that you protect yourself as well. Yeah, don't let buckets open. Don't think, this is a difficult name, they won't guess this. Yeah, and believe me. And as such, I think we understand the problem also because we have Bracket, which is our collaboration with one of the larger institutions in California, Caltech.
Yes.
And so we work with them on a number of these problems. And as such, we have a really good understanding what the timeline is going to be and what the capabilities are. And I think that goes, by the way, for Microsoft, Google, Oracle. Everybody understands this problem and know that they have to solve it.
Yeah, and it's, the only thing to do really is to get ready at this point. Just use those algorithms, right? And implement, switch out the existing ones.
We know it's going to happen. So if you don't take action, you can say it's your own fault, but we don't want to get to that point.
Yeah. Well, talking about action and defense, should talk about your next prediction as well, which is about kind of military tech and how that is flowing into the consumer sector.
It's a strange prediction because that normally doesn't show up in mine. But
I know. It's the first time I think you're talking about war.
Where, I thought, let me talk about something that I'm normally not very positive about, and that is, war. 2 days ago, I was here in Dubai at the air show. And I thought, that's a great moment to start asking people how much of military technology makes it actually into civil technology. Almost everything, except the exploding parts. Everything else makes it into civil technology. And you know what? Without DARPA, we wouldn't have had the internet. Yeah, we wouldn't have GPS. We wouldn't have. There's so many military technologies that over time have made it into civil technology. Now, if I compare the amount of money being spent in, let's say, defense innovation, and compare that with civil, there's a lot more money going into the military industrial complex. So there are innovations happening there where we as civil engineers can actually benefit from over time.
Do you see any recent examples of that as well?
It's a company that was focused on transporting hearts or livers or whatever from one hospital to another hospital. And the drone technology that they were using was military drone technology. And I worked with a company called Help.ngo who work on big disasters and things like that. And they have a lot of former military technology. They're a Polish company. They have a lot of former technology that they are using on a daily basis in the big disaster areas. Are there negative stories? Yeah, and I hate those as a technologist. Yeah. I mean, if you hear I just saw an interview with a BBC, on the BBC, with a doctor that has spent 2 years in Gaza. And he said, what happens is they will bomb a tent camp, and then very small drones will come after that and shoot pellets at little kids.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they won't die, but they'll lose a leg or they'll lose an arm. And if I think about the fact that some of my technology may be used in that, it scares me.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of arguments about, the big technology
Oh yeah,
companies working
and back
together.
and forth. I mean, we have a lot of customers in the Ukraine, and if I hear how they are basically building technology from the ground up as cheap as possible for defense, yeah, is something I think. Yes, I don't like war. But if I need to be on the good side, then I would love to be on the good side.
Yeah, indeed. Easy for the Ukraine war to be on the right side, I think. One of your arguments, though, is just that that's all moving much, much faster than it ever did, right? I think that is part of what's going on here.
Well, it's also, I think, again, coming back to AI, there's a lot of new technology being developed that is unmanned, whether it's aircraft, whether it's drones, whether it is image recognition, there's a lot of new technology being developed that will make it much faster into civil life as well. Yeah, and I believe that we're in a good space there. But then there's all this stuff happening in the defense military space that even I don't know about. So I just hope that it will make the good side of it will make it into civil engineering soon enough.
Yeah, complicated issue, right? It's kind of difficult to parse some of the good and bad there. But what's easier to parse is teaching, right? I think that's your last prediction. We should just at least briefly talk about that one as well. I used to be a teacher, so it's very personal to me. But kind of what's your prediction there when it comes to learning?
Well, the most important thing is that I always was a big fan of Ken Robinson. Yeah, and Ken Robinson was a former college professor who in creativity and looked at creativity in kids and saw how these kids were almost every kid was creative, and we killed it
until they got to school. Yeah,
we went and sent them to school, and then they all became conformists. They all had to learn the same thing. There was no individual sort of teaching that would be really for you. And I honestly believe that, what we see here in ADHD, for example, could have been avoided by a much better targeted learning system on the individual. I'm not keen on giving a kid an iPad and actually learn from that. But if it means that I can get you exactly that, what motivates you, that's great.
Right. Right.
Curiosity is what we kill in kids. Yeah, and curiosity drives you to learning. And I think that we need to make sure that we keep kids curious, that we don't kill that, because curious is the precondition to learning. And you learn with lots more fun if you're curious. Yeah, and as such, if we can continue to. But it's hard to have a class with 40 kids to keep them all curious. That's very hard.
Yeah.
But, looking at individuals, and let me finish this off with a little joke that Ken Robinson actually told. He was a teacher, and there was one kid in the class, one girl, that actually never really paid attention until drawing class. And then he walked up to her and looked at her and he says, "What are you drawing?" She says, "I'm drawing God." He says, "But nobody knows how God looks like." And she says, "In a few minutes they will."
Yeah, nice. But as you were saying that, I was thinking, is there a middle ground there between us supporting the teachers with the technology without overwhelming the students with, there's a lot of arguments that obviously screens in the classrooms are not the best thing, right?
It's one of Robertson's points as well. Yeah, I mean, he says there are no good schools. There are good teachers. Yeah. And what can we do to help teachers be more individualized, have more time to spend? I mean, I don't know how many open positions for teachers we have. And at the same time as governments, we're not spending that terribly much money on education, are we? Yeah, and where this is the most important part in a kid's life. And we're not spending the money on that. No, we're spending it on military planes.
Yeah, coming back to the last point there, right?
No. So I do think that help teachers. Every teacher I met was motivated. Yeah, really, really, really motivated to be a teacher. And 10 years later, they weren't that motivated anymore. Because all the administrative work they had to do around it was actually killing them. Mm-hmm. And so can we build technology to actually help that as well? Absolutely. I think so. So some of these problems, I know they're not all sort of the coherent that they may have been in the past years, but these are things that really worry me. Mm-hmm. What are the kind of things that we as technologists can do to just make sure that kids can learn better and that they can, I remember my daughters who are now in their 40s going to the first class of high school, and in her math class, there were 6 boys that had failed that class 3 times. Mm. If these kids fail, either there's something wrong with the teaching, or maybe they're just not really interested. Mm-hmm. But they're way more interested in the cars that are outside with a broken engine, and they would love to go fix that one. You know what? Go fix it. Yeah. And I believe that there is technology will play an important role in improving education.
Let's hope so, for sure, because it's definitely in the US, it's not going well right now as far as scores and everything goes. So I know it's no different in Europe either. But any other closing words? We're pretty much up on time here. It's late for you too.
I think, do you know Ted Lasso?
Yeah, of course.
That's brilliant.
Apple TV.
It's who knows football. It's very. But there is this one scene where he plays darts against the owner of the club, or whatever. Yeah. And he tells his story. He said at one moment that drove past a wall, and it says, "Be curious." Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he said, now I realize, well, all these kids were bullying me. They were never curious in who I was. They were just bullying me. And curiosity, let's keep curiosity alive. Yeah. All the time. All the way till you're sitting there on your couch with your mechanical cat and stroking it. And if you're still curious, you have a great one.
You have a great conversation with your mechanical cat as well. Hey, thank you so much, Werner. Really appreciate it. As always, thank you.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.